Howdy all Mogulex Lives. I think it's time we play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright, so I am headed out here to get some water so that I can make some tea so that I can go back and explore that city some more that was overheating me. That is the plan. Uh, I I don't know, that's just the plan. Um, so I guess while I'm doing this, I did can't remember how to play the game. I did oh no, did I already shoot. I already got water. I didn't realize that was full water. I should have realized that was full water. I just drank gross water. I just drank gross water. Gross. So, so we did get to play our D&D this week. I know I like to talk about that on here. It went okay. It wasn't anything, nothing too major. Although, I do have to talk about the fact that was a couple weeks ago. We had a big, loud session with our DM about how he's changed the game monsters around, and then he told us that he absolutely in no way ever does that, and everything we've faced is exactly the way it is in the book. And and then immediately after that, we what are you cooking up? Oh, you also cooked up water already. Okay. So let's do this, and then let me unload this, and let me get this, and so we had yeah, so we had the big argument, and then the very next major guy we fought, uh, I attempted to cast um, cast a spell on them called um, Hold Person. And so with Hold Person, you you paralyze the whatever it is. And so we're fighting this guy, and I don't know if Hold Person would work on him or not. I didn't look at his stats, but I mean, I looked at his stats, but I did not look at whether or not Hold Person would affect him, because I didn't really look at his stats, I guess. Um, but when I cast it, he failed. He failed his roll, and so that dude should have been held. And I mean, that's all there is to it. That dude should have been held, and he didn't like that, and so he immediately says, "Oh, well, this guy is going to use his one legendary reaction he gets for the day uh, to automatically succeed against your spell." Well, no, that's not. That dude does not have legendary reaction or legendary actions. He just doesn't. He's not that kind of character. He's not a big boss like that. He's a medium-sized boss who's a slightly augmented revenant. He doesn't get legendary actions or legendary reactions. And I've never played or seen. I'm not saying they're not out there, but I've never seen a monster that only gets one legendary resistance. Legendary resistance is what I'm referring to. A legendary resistance per day. Usually they come in threes. And so, after arguing with us vehemently that he's never made any changes to the characters, he then, within 10 minutes of saying that, changed the character, changed the bad guy, because he didn't like what happened to him. And he really, really is. My paladin right now is carrying heavy plate, which gives him an AC of 18, and then he's carrying a shield, which gives him an AC of 20, and then he's also got a cloak of protection, which gives him an AC of 21. And then I've got a spell called Holy Shield, or no, what's that called? Holy Shield, Holy Shield. I think it's Holy Shield. Something like that anyways. And that increases my AC by another 2, so that puts me at a 23. And then we're facing stuff that gets like a +5 to attack, and so they've got to get at least a 23 when they roll the dice and add in their modifiers to hit me. And so it's very peculiar when guys who only have a +5 to hit are getting 27, 28 to hit, because if they only get a +5, then 25 is the biggest number they can get. But somehow they are getting big enough numbers to hit me. Let's see. Bullet casings and bullets. This guy's making me bullets. Alright, I'm going to take these with me. I don't want to sit here for 7 more minutes. So my plan today is... Oh, right, I was waiting for a little bit more of that red tea to get finished here. So I'm going to take this tea with me. And... I guess none of this really needs to be on. And we're going to head back out, and I'm going to see if I can't maybe... What time of day is it? Yeah, it's alright time of day, I guess. See how I can do facing off against those couple little stores there I don't think I've looted, and look for brass. But so anyway, so we get to last night's session, and I'm a little nervous now going into these sessions because we've reached near the end of the campaign, and there is a giant power increase in the bad guys. I mean, technically there's not, but the way he plays makes it sketchy. And so, like, for example, alright, 2 examples. Example number 1 is we're told about this, yeah, okay, we'll just keep going this way. We're told about this place that's got druids and plant monsters. And so we head out there to fight, and he tells us how they're in these tiny little groups, and they're separated with a big distance between them. And so it's outdoors, and one of our guys is an archer, and so all his an arcane archer. So like almost all of his stuff has to do with firing his bow at things. And so we're like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Since it's outside and we can see or we know how far out it is, we're gonna approach and then we're gonna wait for a small patrol to get near the gate, and then he's gonna fire from about 500 feet away because he's a sharpshooter, and so his distance doesn't matter. But at that distance, he should be able to basically knock down most of what comes at us. And then my wizard can start hitting things at about 150 feet away. And so by the time it gets in close, it'd be really easy for my paladin to mop everything up. So no, he doesn't like that. So he won't let us do that. And so then he does this thing where you tell him what you want to do, and then he changes it so that's the way he wants it done. And so he's like, "Oh, well, you walk up to the gate, waiting for," and we're like, "No, we're gonna fight from a huge distance away. We don't know where they're at." I'm like, "You just told us we knew where they're at. What do you mean I don't know where they're at?" "Well, when I said that, I didn't mean that like you'd know exactly where they were." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna send my bird out to take a look around so we know exactly where they're at then." Well, it's foggy now and you can't see. So he's been doing that a lot. It's foggy and you can't see. And so I actually counteract that last night. So then when we get in the fight, we don't fight just one group at a time. He brings all the groups to us at once. And so we fought every single bad guy but like 3 in the entire chapter's encounter list, all in a row. And the only reason that we did as well as we did is because I had a web spell. I think it was web. And I covered the ground in web so that everything that came toward us had to go through the web, and it slowed him down. And so we were able to hold him back that way. And then as they got in close, I mean, he's got a character that he plays with us, but the dude's not as useful as could be. And all right. So here's an actual shotgun messiah this time, unlike the the grocery store that for some reason I thought was a shotgun messiah. And so anyways, so he made us fight the entire thing at once. And then and there's like there's like fields that are being patrolled. There was like a winding path through hills where there's supposed to be stuff. There's a building that was basically, your dungeon crawl, and so you're supposed to explore through this building, and there's like hundreds of guys. Oh, uh-oh. Look. Oh. Dang it. Making me waste my bullets. Anybody else coming? Okay. Switch back here. I probably should use a med kit, get my health traveling back up here. Oh. Oh man. That zombie made me bleed in the middle of equipping my health kit. And I don't think I brought zombies. I don't think I brought zombies with me to stop the bleeding. No, I don't think I brought bandages to stop the bleeding with me. That's okay, just step on itself. Nope. Alright. And, so then, another time we get in there, and there's a werewolf den. And, this one angered me by the time the night was done. And so we get to this werewolf den, and it's another dungeon. It's a dungeon, like tunnels and rooms and stuff that's supposed to happen. And and like this room's got cages with people, and depending on what you do in this room might affect what happens in the next room. Well, not with our DM. With our DM, every single bad guy in the encounter, the entire chapter, basically, attacked us at once. And it was supposed to be like there's two guards at the entrance, and then there's another room with a guy who might help you out, and so if he's helping you out, then this happens, and if he's not helping you out, this happens, and no, we got attacked by the guards, and then once the guards attacked us without letting us speak, then every werewolf in the cave came at us all at once. And then on top of that, there's another thing that's supposed to happen in the chapter that if you spend too much time at the werewolf cave, then sometime in the next hour, after you're done with the cave, another group of werewolves is supposed to show up. And no, he had those werewolves show up 2 rounds into the fight. And so we had I want to say we had close to 40 bad guys on the map at one time, against the 5 of us, because there was an NPC who's currently hanging out with us. But and then as soon as that was done, I don't know where he's getting this vampire thing from, but it seems really weird to me, and I don't think I don't understand why it's happening, and no one we talk to will explain to us why it's happening. And so it just seems like a way for him to attack us with extra bad guys whenever he feels like it. And I thought that was search the desk. I don't want to pick up an old chair. And so, so we're in there, and as soon as we kill those guys, we get jumped by vampires. Now, vampires are more powerful than the werewolves, I think, if I remember correctly. But we now have like the anti-vampire weapons and stuff, and so we are pretty powerful for fighting undead and werewolves. And or vampires, I mean. I wonder if these would just be better to scrap. Like, can I just get like the ingredients for better bullets from them? And so I got pretty irritated at that one. And so, it just says it's unlocked. So I didn't know what to expect going into this thing that we entered last night, because the stuff we've been fighting, I know I talk about the CR levels a lot, but so the way it works is CR is a challenge rating, and so the higher the challenge rating, the more powerful the monster. And so they're not exactly cumulative, but they're kind of cumulative. So if you have a group of group of heroes, players who are um, who are there to fight, and they're level 10, then obviously you're not going to send one CR1 guy with you. You know, that didn't have, isn't what I even wanted to aim at. Apparently, it just left the faucet behind hanging up in midair there. So, like, you wouldn't fight them with a single zombie because a zombie's like CR 1/4. But 4 zombies would equal sort of a CR1. They're not as powerful individually as a CR1, but because they get to go on 4 separate creatures are doing something, it makes them more powerful than a single creature, but not with the same power level of abilities as a CR1 creature. And so there's some wiggle room in adding these things together. And so it's almost nighttime, so I don't want to hang out here. But we did loot the gun place. You know, I don't know that this helped me like I thought it does. Yeah, you used to get a buff against the heat with that. I guess you don't. Weird. So, so, uh, so we never know what's going to happen because we don't. I don't think he understands that that's how it's supposed to work, and so he looks at it and he's like, "Oh, well, this is CR1 monsters, so 40 of them at once doesn't mean anything because they're CR1." And like, no, 40 CR1 monsters is approaching the equivalency of a CR40 monster, um, provided your players aren't competent enough to wipe the floor with CR1 monsters so fast that you can't get them in close, which we do. And so so we go in last night, and he makes a comment. So we're getting there last night, and he's like, everything's filled with fog. You can't see farther than 120 feet. And so I'm like, oh, give me a second. And so I looked through the book for one of my spells. And they got this spell called Find Familiar, and it's basically, uh, depending on how your player uses it, it can be very annoying. And I have played with my DM as a wizard with this spell, and he was very annoying with it. And so I try not to be. And I don't mean like he used the scout out, because that's kind of the point of it. I mean like every time it was his turn, he wanted to do something with the familiar, and every time it was someone else's turn, he wanted to do something with the familiar, and so it's like he basically had gotten to the point where it didn't matter whose turn it was, he was going to do something on that turn. And so it was really annoying to have him go every turn if it was his or not. But so I see in there that bats have blind sight, so now his fog can't affect my bat, and I'll use that to do my scouting. It worked out pretty cool because he had an invisible creature, or one of the creatures turned invisible and tried to run away, and so I used the bat to find it, and then our arcane archer managed to shoot next to the bat with a high enough number to hit the creature and kill it. But yeah, so I'm a little worried going into these because there's a lot of creatures listed in the books for these next few dungeons. Uh, we're basically down to the last 3 dungeons. There's Baba La Saga, which is the one we're on now, and there is the Amber Temple, which is what we're probably going to do next. And then after the Amber Temple is Strahd's Castle. And so we should, you know, it should play out like dungeon crawls. Small clusters of bad guys here and there, and you fight several of them before you can take a rest to replenish your abilities. And several groups of them, you fight several groups of them, and then that makes up your day in the game. And so yeah, I don't know. He got really defeated last night because he also cheated. Right, that was the other thing that I was getting to. I got distracted by everything that was going on. So so back to my original thing about how he said he doesn't make changes to the bad guys. Um, we we tell him what we're doing, and then he changes where we're at and what we're doing immediately. Um, for example, last night we came to a river, and so we needed to get across the river, and there's no bridge, and so he's telling us that the river is less than 10 feet deep, so you should easily be able to swim across it. And I'm like, looking over my spells, I've got a spell called Shape Water. And so Shape Water says you may you may um, freeze 5 cubic feet of water for an hour with the spell. And so I'm like, okay. I'm like, dude, I am going to just make us a bridge because it's an instantaneous freezing, and it lasts for an hour after it's done. I'm like, I'll just make a bridge of ice across the channel, and then that way we don't have to go swimming. And he's like, let me see what the spell says. And so it says, instantaneous, 5 cubic feet of water can be frozen. It lasts an hour. I'm like, so I'll just keep freezing water to water until we have a walkway across the river here. And so he's like, I'll say that he every time I'll say that what you do is you create a small boat out of ice, and then you guys can use your weapons and stuff as paddles, and you'll paddle the boat across. That is not what I said I was doing. I said I was making a bridge out of ice, and we were going to cross the frozen river. And there was another time where he sealed the door behind us with a stone door, and so I also have Shape Earth, which basically does the same thing, but with earth, with rocks. And so I'm like, I'll just use Shape Earth to carve us a doorway now that the battle's over, and we can just leave that way. And he's like, I'll say that with that spell and the other people smashing it with stuff, that it eventually breaks and lets you out. You said it was a stone door, man. I use stone shape to get out. I don't. Why can't you just let us do what we're doing? And it's not like I'm trying to do something shady. I'm not trying to circumvent what was happening. I don't know why I'm carrying that iron shovel around with me. Um, I wasn't skipping content. It was just a door. It sealed behind us. We got in a fight. We finished the fight. We're ready to leave. I think there's like a lever or something in one of the rooms that you're supposed to go find and let you out. A room that we had already been in, and we didn't find it. And so I'm like, well, I can just stone shape a hole through the door because it's instantaneous. It's cantrip. Doesn't cost me anything. 5 cubic feet. I can just carve a hole in the door, make a door in the stone slab that filled the hallway. It wasn't a thick stone slab. It wasn't like I was digging a hole through the mountain. But no, no, we can't. We cannot do that thing. So then we get in the fight, right? And and so immediately the scarecrows that we're fighting have an ability to scare you, and so when they scare you, you basically become paralyzed until the end of the turn, and and so you have to roll wisdom saving throws. And so everybody rolls a wisdom saving throw. My wizard rolls a 7, which is very low. Um, but I'm within 10 feet of my paladin, and my paladin gives off an aura that allows me to increase my saving throw by 4. So that gives me a saving throw of 11. And Mr. I don't make changes to the bad guys said that an 11 was not high enough to stop me from being paralyzed. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, 11 seems pretty low to me. So then I look in the book at the scarecrows. Guess what you have to beat the scarecrow's fear? An 11. So he paralyzed my wizard because he didn't want my wizard to be able to act because he found out that scarecrows are vulnerable to fire, and fire is my primary way of attacking with my wizard. And yeah. Yeah. But, it wasn't too bad last night. I didn't care. Whatever. My wizard's paralyzed. My paladin was not. So my paladin proceeds to kill 2 of the scarecrows, and we killed someone. We didn't get overwhelmed. I was really expecting to be overwhelmed. I'm really surprised that the Baba Saga herself didn't show up and attack us during this battle. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know if we're going to fight her. I kind of get the idea in my head that we're not going to try and fight her. We're going to try to, well, we probably will fight her because I think she's in love with Strahd. And so I'm about to suggest that because Strahd has sent us to kill her, kind of doing jobs for Strahd. And so I was going to see if she might give us some information on how to break Strahd's curse. Because if we break Strahd's curse, then nobody's trapped in the land of Barovia anymore, I assume. And but I do know that she loves Strahd, so she might not care that Strahd sent us to kill her. We also got attacked by Strahd's brides twice now since Strahd gave us a list of things to do. And so when I told Strahd about it, because we talked to Strahd last night, he didn't care. He didn't care. He's like, "Oh, well, but that's my DM. I don't think he knows what to do with his NPCs, and so we're being attacked whenever he feels like it by groups of vampires led by Strahd's brides." And then we're like, "Hey, Strahd, your brides are attacking us while we're trying to do the list of things you wanted us to do." And he's like, "Oh, well, they're just what was the word he used? Excitable or something? I don't know." But all right, well, I am gonna go ahead and call it here. So click like if you like, subscription, catch the next one. I will talk to you later.